Hey everyone, welcome to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind podcast. I'm your host, Stevietpfl. It's Thursday, December 19th. It is 2024. We have an 11-game NBA slate to talk about here on today's podcast, joined as always by my good buddy, Will Priester, ChiefJustice06. Chief, we have a big slate Thursday. We've had a weird, wonky schedule for like the last week and a half because of all the NBA Cup stuff. Giannis, Lillard, they show up. They take care of business against the Thunder. They take down the NBA Cup, and all is right for the Milwaukee Bucks, who were all kind of what was going on with the Bucks for the first 2.5 weeks of the season.
Yeah, man, for sure. And now, Stevie, I think they went undefeated in the Cup. I think, they're now at 14-11, I think it is, when I think everybody thought they were left for dead. And does this mean they're going to win a championship? No. But does this gives them a nice little jolt to their early part of the season when it was looking pretty bleak. So I'm sure they'll be pushing hard through the February All-Star break, because that's the next big thing, Stevie. Teams are going to try to push to the All-Star break now. So, and that's only about 2 months out, believe it or not. So it feels like it's a long time, but about 2 months we'll be there. So congrats to Milwaukee. And now we're coming out of the gate strong with a huge slate, 11 games, definitely a monster.
All right, let's jump in. I will say that the injury report that I usually go over before we start breaking down each team, the official NBA injury report, all not submitted yet. So we won't have a ton of injury news here. We'll talk about a few of the bigger ones as we're going. So we get started here with Charlotte at Washington. 226.5 total. The Hornets, a 4-point favorite. Two of the, I wouldn't even say like mediocre teams. I would say two of the worst teams in the NBA this season, Charlotte and Washington. On the Charlotte side, Brandon Miller is dealing with an injury. We'll have to pay attention to that. And then we know Trey Mann is going to be out for a couple weeks. So we'll watch that news. We'll go Charlotte here first. What do we like here for your Hornets?
Well, anytime LaMelo Ball is playing, Stevie, and, with the way this team is currently constructed, he's always a really good play. He's 9,900, still fairly expensive, but, if we feel like he's going to get something closer to normal minutes, then he's big time in play. I want to play Mikal Bridges in this spot at 6,200. I still don't know if I can. So I do feel like in terms of tournaments, even though people are back, like he still has some meat on the bone here. We saw him get up to 28 minutes, Steve, which tells me that was just a couple of days ago. Feels like we're getting back to normal minutes at 6,200 matchup against Washington. Once again, I think he's a really good tournament play. I think this is a guy that we can get in and see some nice things from him fantasy-wise. So those will be my top two right now from Charlotte, with Bridges actually being pretty sneaky in tournaments, I think. I don't think he'll pick up the ownership that he should.
Yeah, a lot of interest in LaMelo. I think he'll see a few extra minutes in this game. If Miller ends up sitting, I like Bridges. I'm with you on him at 6,200. Outside of that, it's kind of tough. You love the matchup against Washington. You love the fact that they're missing two key pieces here. I really wish Nick Richards was getting consistent minutes, because I'd have a ton of interest in him in this matchup. Washington's been terrible against centers this year, but they're very. They're kind of doing the Clint Capella, Kongwu thing here with Mark Williams and Nick Richards. So it's really hard for me to like either one of those guys, because they're just basically splitting the center minutes down the middle. So just not loving either one of them, but a lot of interest in Melo, assuming that, he is good to go here. Maybe a little bit of Josh Green, 5K. Don't typically target Josh Green, but it's a really good matchup. I think that there's a few extra shots available with Miller potentially out. And I only like Green if Miller sits. If Miller plays, LaMelo is probably the only person I play. from Charlotte in this matchup. On the Washington side, I mean, Kuzma, it doesn't sound like he'll be back for this game. Malcolm Brogdon practiced on Tuesday, so we'll see if he is back for this one. And Corey Kispert practiced on Tuesday. So, I mean, this like NBA Cup schedule and how everything kind of shaped up here over the last week and a half, it really gave a couple of these teams a chance to get these guys healthy. What do we like on the Washington side here?
I actually like Jordan Poole. This should be a spot where he can get the shots up. Should have a chance to spread the ball around some. Now, I'm not saying his assist numbers are going to be through the roof, but 3 or 4 assists. This is a spot he could definitely go for 20-plus real points, Steven. That's kind of what I think you're going to be looking for here in this situation. If Brogdon plays, I'm semi-interested. Like, he's 5,600. He's put up some nice games this season, so I would be okay with him. I'm so sorry. Sarr at 5,400 is another guy that I think, is priced appropriately and could pay off here in this spot also. So, yeah, I just like those couple pieces from Washington.
Yeah, I mean, Poole, I don't necessarily love or hate Brandon Poole or Jordan Poole, sorry. Brandon Poole is a NASCAR driver, but Jordan Poole, the NBA player for Washington Wizards, I don't love his price, but I don't hate the matchup. I mean, we've been talking about wings against this team all year, so maybe Champagne at 5,800. He has been taking a ton of shots. He has at least 32 fantasy points in 4 straight games. It's a good matchup for him, and they seem very consistent on getting him minutes and run right now. So I want to see how the injury news kind of shapes up with like Kispert and these guys. But if Kuzma and Kispert are out, I don't mind Champagne here at 5,800. Colby is another one that, if those guys are out, I think you could take shots on. So it's really tough night before on Washington because I want to see how this injury news kind of shapes up. I have some interest in Washington for sure. It's just whether or not I'm playing these like cheaper pieces or not, depending on this injury news.
Yep, for sure.
We got Utah at Detroit, 228.5 total here. Pistons a 4.5-point favorites. On the Utah side, I don't see anything injury wise. I think they're going to be good to go here night before. What are your interests? What's your interest in the Jazz?
I mean, like, I'm okay with Kessler, but hopefully he gets 30-plus minutes. Collins has been playing 30-plus minutes. He's a guy that we can play. Lauri Markkanen down to 6,700. This price, Stevie, he can't keep being this price. Like, at some point, he's got to get back to bigger games, like in the 40s. So I'm just going to keep playing him while his price is plummeting, especially in a matchup like this against Detroit. And that's kind of where I am. I don't really plan to load up on the guards, but Clarkson is back. I do like Clarkson. Let me say that. Clarkson is a guy that I don't mind playing. But most of these other guards, I'm just not going to worry about it. I know Keontae George had some splash games, but I'll be okay fading him. But those 3 bigs are definitely who I want to play for Utah versus Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, you want shooters against the Pistons is kind of what we are seeing trends wise this year. You want 2 or 3 guards that are like the 2 or the 3 that are hitting shots and taking shots. So I don't mind the Clarkson call. I mean, I don't think I'm officially done with Lauri Markkanen, but I don't know how much more I could chase and get the painful like. The price is so good, it's just so good. But I mean, the Jazz are 5-20. They have been an awful team this year. So, do you think Markkanen finishes the season in a Jazz uniform? I was thinking about this earlier today. I don't know if Markkanen finishes the season in a Jazz uniform.
The question is, where is he going?
See, I think he is somebody that is a good fit for like a playoff contender that has a little bit of space, right? I was looking up his contract. Let me pull it back up. I was looking up his contract earlier. He had a 4-year contract with Chicago, right? Before he got traded.
Yeah, I haven't looked at his stuff like probably since he went there.
Oh, so he signed a 5-year deal this year. Maybe he doesn't get moved, but I don't know. I don't know who would be able to like pick him up. I was like, man, how does Golden State make it work? Because I think Lauri Markkanen and the Warriors would make them
Honestly,
a yeah,
that's so buddy. That
yeah.
would be kind of dangerous.
I didn't know that he had a 5-year deal. I don't know if anyone's going to do that. I didn't know if he was like 1 or 2 years out, but
Yeah.
Golden State would be an incredible fit for him. What a waste of talent. Anyway, Detroit side of this game. Jaden Ivey sat on Monday, so we'll see if he's back. Tobias Harris was out on Monday as well, but I mean, they had a few days off in between games. Again, the injury report's not up yet. And then Isaiah Stewart got hurt during the game on Monday, so we're watching a lot here. Point guards have torched the Jazz this year. I mean, this is a matchup we love. The Jazz allow the most fantasy points per game to opposing point guards. Your boy that you love to play, Cade Cunningham, getting this matchup with the Jazz, who I just said allows the most fantasy points per game to point guards. Like, this might be a Cade smash spot, and I don't think he'll have the ownership as some of these other like Wemby against Atlanta. I feel like is going to be your chalkier play. Cat against Minnesota, you'll get that revenge narrative, and then you got Jason Tatum against the Bulls. So, and even LaMelo, like Washington's awful against point guards too. So, I just don't think Cade's going to get a ton of ownership. And I mean, it's really hard not to like him in this matchup.
Well, you already know Cade will get written up tomorrow for me. I've been playing Cade all year. Steve, I've played him almost every matchup. You saw what happened in the Miami game. Now, here's what I'm saying. Obviously, Ivy going down helped cement the fact that he was going to have more upside, but he also played 42 minutes. But still goes without saying, I mean, 60-plus fantasy points. Had a little time off the rest of those legs. Give me all the Cade Cunningham. Now, Stevie, we saw a nice game from Duren. If Stewart is going to sit and that cements Duren's minutes at 5,500, I'll play him too, if that makes any sense. Because now he's going to have way more opportunity to put up the fantasy points. And that's who I would play. If he's out, if he's for sure out, like Beasley's going to play big minutes, Beasley at 4,900 would be good. So those three guys, Steve, are definitely the guys or players that I would want to invest in from a tournament perspective. I mean, we'll get a little bit of Ausar Thompson at 4,400. Like, this is a good game, Steve. This is a good spot for fantasy goodness, I think.
Yeah, it was really good to see Thompson play 27 minutes the other night. So if Ivy's out, I'm all for Thompson. I didn't think that they were going to let him run out that many minutes. So watching the Tobias and Ivy news for Thompson, because I mean, we talked about, it was you and I that did the podcast the other day. We talked about Malik Beasley. We nailed that one. I did not expect Thompson to get as many minutes as he did. So if Ivy and Harris sit again, I think you go right back to the well. And those two guys, I mean, Tim Hardaway Jr. played 36 minutes. The minutes are nice, but the production's just not there. But I mean, I think you could potentially take shots on him. And then if Isaiah Stewart gets ruled out, I mean, I'll take some shots on Jalen Duren. Anytime Jalen Duren's going to get 30-plus minutes, I'm going to take shots on him. And the Jazz allow the most fantasy points per game to opposing centers as well. So the Jazz have been a hot spot to target this year as far as fantasy production. Don't sleep on the Pistons here. All right, we got the Thunder going into Orlando, facing my Magic, 209.5 total here. Thunder a 7-point favorite. Franz, Paulo, Holmgren out still. So we'll start here with the Thunder coming off a tough loss in the NBA Cup Finals against the Bucks. SGA just, I mean, he couldn't get it going, man. He could not hit a shot in that game.
Stevie, I don't know if you realize though, they sent a couple of double teams at him early in that game, and they just kind of had him off. And then like, I don't know if did you get a chance to watch like the first?
I watched the second half of the game.
Okay, so like as you watched the first half, they just kind of kept putting pressure on them. When they closed out the second quarter, I think it was like the quarter was about to end to go into halftime. SGA was trying to get to a step back, and they basically the defender walled up on him. He had to kick it over to oh man, Alex Caruso. Like he took a lot of shots, but all these shots weren't easy shots. Like the Bucks, excuse me, really did make it tough. And I think this is another tough matchup going into Orlando. I know missing some of these guys, but Stevie, this is still a defensive team. They're going to try, as much as they can to limit the scoring. So I'm really not thrilled about SGA here. I'm okay with Dort at 4,800. I'm okay with Hartenstein at 68, but generally speaking, I really don't want to play anybody from OKC outside of the cheap guys.
Yeah, don't really love this game. Like either side of this game, both really good defensive teams. I mean, two of the better defensive teams in the NBA. I mean, the Thunder are first, and I think the Magic are third. So it's an 11-game slate. I can kind of be picky. I can cross off a game, and I feel like this is the game I'm kind of leaning towards. And I know, like, Franz and Paulo being out, there's some upside, but Suggs is 7,800 now. Anthony Black at 4,600 maybe, but they just kind of ride the hot hand. So, I mean, if you're playing Black or like Cole Anthony, like if one of them get hot, they play them. De Silva, like they'll play the hot hand. Like who's ever playing good is who the Magic are going to play. And I mean, love it or hate it, that's just kind of how the Magic roll. I know Derek in chat saying Jonathan Isaac's cheap, but they really, after giving him that run of like 2 or 3 games where he was playing decent 20s minutes, they've been right back to playing in 15 minutes. And he just came back from a hamstring injury. So I think I'm just out on this game as a whole.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Tough game all the way around. So once again, CV, I think the larger point is 11 games, man. And we've got a couple games like later on that we'll definitely want to target. Toronto's on this slate against Brooklyn, who's depleted. Like it's just better spots. So I'm with you.
I will say this. If you are an MME person, always have Mo Wagner in your player pool. Always. Whenever the Magic are on the slate, he literally can go for 20 or 50. And when he starts shooting, he doesn't stop. So Mo Wagner is always someone I like for large field tournaments. He has multiple 40-point games this year, fantasy points-wise. Chicago at Boston. Moving on here. 243 total. 243 total. Boston, a 15-point favorite here. On the Chicago side, we're kind of watching the injury report here. Josh Giddey got banged up the other night, his ankle. Zach LaVine is expected to be like in and good to go for this game. What are your thoughts here on Chicago?
My thoughts are Josh Giddey doesn't play in this game. Then now we're getting Kobe White season, DeSumo season, Zach LaVine season. They're still going to limit Lonzo Ball, but he is up to mid-20s minutes. I think Lonzo Ball is ironically in play, Stevie. You get what I'm saying? Like mid-20s minutes at 4,300 for him. I like it. So he's a guy, want to keep our eye on. He puts up another big performance. He may be getting a lot closer to 5K. So I like him. But mainly for me, man, it's these named guards, LaVine, White, Ball. Those would be guys I'd be interested in. Ayo. That's who I want to play here.
Yeah, I mean, Giddey matters, I think, a lot for me. Watching, like, because with LaVine back, Williams back, that kind of hurts a little bit of the wing value. But if Giddey sits in this game, I mean, I don't see AU not playing a good amount of minutes. I'll say this, like, if we get good ownership on Chicago. Like if any get any kind of ownership on Chicago, they're probably a team I could easily stay away from too. I mean, this is a 15-point favorite in Boston for a reason. The Celtics should handle the Bulls in this game. On the Boston side, we'll see if Porzingis plays. I know he's dealing with an ankle, and then we'll see if Hauser's back, but I don't think it matters. It's an incredible matchup for this team. They're expensive. Do we just go to like a Pritchard here or a Derek White and hope the production comes from one of these guards where, I mean, $10K for Tatum, if he doesn't get a lot of fourth quarter run, is not going to work on an 11-game slate.
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like I'm more interested in the Chicago side than the Boston side, despite the fact that clearly Boston's at home. They should be playing well. You talk about Pritchard. Like, Pritchard's been on a steady incline in price, but he's also been on a steady incline in production. Like, I mean, this man's put up 50 fantasy point games off the bench, playing big minutes. So if you want to get Pritchard in this spot, I don't hate it, Stevie. I do wish he was still a little cheaper, but at 5,900, there's still some meat on the bone for a guy that could possibly score 40 to 50 in a really up-tempo spot. Same thing for Derek White, as you mentioned. I'm fine with those guys. I think if I'm going to side between Tatum and Brown in this spot, I usually don't side with Brown, and Brown hasn't been explosive recently, like within the past week. But, man, a matchup with Chicago does sound and feel, and I know it's tasty. So I think you need to get some exposure to him as well.
All right, we got Brooklyn at Toronto. Like you said, this game is very interesting. 219.5 total. The Raptors a 4-point favorite in this one. Brooklyn side here first. So Cam Thomas, we know, is out. Zaire Williams, he's been kind of like limited in practice, so we'll see. We know Watford's out for this game, and we know Bogdanovich is going to sit. This team looks like a mess right now. Let's just call it how it is. Let's just be blunt. They traded away Dennis Schroeder. They got beat, I think, by 30 the other night against Cleveland, and I mean, it doesn't look good. Like, Cam Johnson did everything that he could, but they played a gazillion amount of people. I don't know what to do with this team. My gut just says fade them, but it's Toronto. I mean, it's a great spot on paper if we can kind of figure out where the production is going to come from.
I think I'm willing to roll the dice on Claxton in this spot at 5,500. Definitely okay with Johnson. I was hoping they would solidify the Keon Johnson, Shake Milton minutes, Stevie, but you can't do that in a massive blowout. But it still looks like, to me, Keon Johnson is going to be the guy. So at 4,700, he's a really good play here, and I love it.
Yeah, Ben Simmons, I feel like they want to showcase him. They played him 30 minutes in a 30-point blowout the other night. And he played minutes in the fourth quarter. It wasn't just like it's crazy when you're thinking of like Ben Simmons' like health history and like he played 7 minutes in the fourth quarter and the game was never within like 25 points. So maybe Ben Simmons at 54 for the next couple of games until he's like traded or whatever happens with him.
That.
Maybe they're kind of showcase that he's like healthy. Outside of that, man, I mean, Keon Johnson is someone that I like. Maybe a little bit of Jalen Wilson. It's Toronto. I don't hate taking some shots here, but Ben Simmons is probably my favorite. Cam Johnson's the other guy, but he's kind of priced up there. We're still getting a really good price tag on Ben Simmons. The Toronto side, some injuries here for sure. Jakob Poeltl out. He got hurt the other night. And Barnes is questionable. Quickly's out. Brown is still out. Is it Kelly Olynyk season with Poeltl being out, or do we think they go like Mogbo at 4,900?
I hope it's Kelly Olynyk season because, this is a guy that we've seen put up monster numbers when given the opportunity. So let me just say, I do hope Kelly Olynyk gets a nice round starters minutes. But I mean, RJ Barrett at 9,200, man, it feels expensive, but he's got to do everything right now, and he can do everything. We saw Grady Dick. We talked about these two guys, Steven, last podcast. They both had really nice games against Chicago. Go figure. Grady Dick at 6K against this team. I don't like it as much, but I'm okay with it. So I just think Barrett and Grady Dick should be able to get off here. And if Olynyk's going to play 25, 30 minutes, sign me up.
I'll say this. Podol left the game in the second half, tried to come back, did not play very much at all when he got hurt. So looking at game flow, Mogbo played 15 straight minutes, 14 straight minutes. I expect him to be the guy. I don't know if that's saying much as far as production-wise, because his usage is very low. His fantasy point per minute is very low. But if you're getting 30 minutes against Brooklyn, again, Brooklyn's another team that has struggled against centers this year. So if you're getting 30 minutes at this price point, I don't hate it. I think I need to see the Kelly Olynyk minutes happen before I play him in a bunch of teams, especially in like a large field tournament. But don't overlook the fact that with Quickly and Podol out, and Barnes, if Barnes sits again, it's just Barrett and Grady Dick. Don't overlook that, right? Those guys, those are the guys you want to target here. Those are the guys you want to play. What's his name? Shaheed played 12 minutes in the fourth quarter the other night. It's the only time he played, and he scored 26 fantasy points in the fourth quarter. He literally brought the game back. The game was a 15-point game, and he made it a game that was a 3-point game to finish, and I think it ended a 1-point game. So maybe he earned some minutes if you like large field tournament, tournament darts. But again, I would need Barnes out before I try that. But he did. I mean, he literally had 26 fantasy points in the fourth quarter the other night. Yeah. So that's wild. Yeah. All right, we got Golden State at Memphis for our next game here. 236.5 total. The Grizzlies a 3-point favorite. Go to Golden State here first. I assume that Dennis Schroeder plays in this game.
Yeah, I do too.
What are your thoughts here on the Warriors?
I mean, this should be a good game, Stevie. Memphis is playing, they're playing at a really nice level. Curry's 9,300, Schroeder 6K. I think you could take a wait and see approach with Schroeder, but Buddy Hield's 5K. Wiggins is 6,600. I just feel like I just want to play Curry, and that's it.
I'm betting Schroeder under 15.5 points right now. Done.
I don't hate that at all.
The
rotation is already 10 deep anyway.
Yeah, I could see them maybe trying to force the ball to him a little bit, but they got Dennis Schroeder for next to nothing, right? That at the end of the day. Dennis Schroeder,
they got him to go deeper in the playoffs anyway. That's what they're really going to need him. Playoff time.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't even know if he comes out and plays 30 minutes in this game.
No, I definitely don't think he gets 30 minutes. I would be shocked if he got 30 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see, but yeah, I mean, I'm in on betting his under for what it's worth.
Yep, like it.
15.5 points. I don't really love anything for Golden State today. Don't hate the matchup, but I don't love anything. Nothing really jumping off the page at me. Like you said a minute ago, they play such a deep rotation. It's really hard to do anything. Memphis side, John Morant is questionable, dealing with a lower back. Marcus Smart's doubtful. So if Ja sits and Smart's doubtful. I guess we go to Pittman at 4K. I think that price tag is a really fair price tag for a guy that kind of probably falls into 25 minutes if both of those guards are out. So watch that news. If Ja plays, I mean, maybe Edie played 24 minutes in his return. He's 4,300. That price tag is really fair. So I think Edie is the guy that I play no matter what. And if Ja sits, I'll probably look at Pittman.
Yeah, definitely don't mind the Edie call. I feel like, the one guy that I play if Ja is out, and just hear me out here, Stevie, but, Alderman has been a guy that when given the minutes, he's been very productive. At 5,500, I consider him if Ja doesn't play today.
Yeah, I don't hate that. Nothing really else, though, right? Like this game.
Yeah, no.
Atlanta at San Antonio. Let's go to a game that definitely looks a little juicier. 233.5 total. Spurs a 1-point favorite. We expect this game to be close. The Atlanta side, I mean, all the injury reports that I'm seeing here look pretty good. I will say that we know Okongwu is going to be out for a little while. Is it finally Clint Capella plays 30 minutes of game time? I think so. You're always worried about foul trouble with Capella, but I think that he gets the minutes in this spot. I don't necessarily hate it. I feel like Jalen Johnson could have a huge game today in this matchup. Like those are the two guys that I'm kind of targeting here. Trae Young, he obviously has a huge ceiling, over 60 fantasy points in 2 of the last 5 games. So love that. What are your thoughts here on the Atlanta side?
Yeah, I don't mind Trae, but for me, man, Capella with no Okongwu, 5,300 on DraftKings. That's fantastic. I just think this is a really good spot for him. The cheap guards from Atlanta have just lost their allure, Stevie. Like, I think Bogdanovich could be fine here, so let me say that. He's 4,600, but I wouldn't load up. I'd maybe try to match the field. I think DeAndre Hunter could absolutely be fine also. But I think I'd also try to match the field. So for me, it's Capella. I agree with you on Jalen Johnson. Now I'm trying to match the field on all the cheap guys.
San Antonio side, I mean, it's definitely one of those spots you could circle Wemby ceiling. Anytime you're getting a pace game like this, I think Wemby has a huge ceiling. Sohan, maybe. I think he's kind of priced appropriately. I don't see a lot of value in like Chris Paul's upside. So hate to say it. I mean, I think it just continues to be Wemby for me on San Antonio. I've been a lot more profitable not playing a lot of San Antonio players again this year.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, they'll have those games. Now, Stevie, they start sitting a bunch of guys for in business, but Wemby's under 11K. Obviously, this is a guy that we know has tremendous upside. He can score. The blocks and steals come in handy for fantasy purposes. The game should have a nice pace to it. So, yeah, give me all the Wemby.
I don't think there's anything else for me. Moving on, we got New Orleans at Houston. This game has a 217.5 total. The Rockets a 10.5 point favorite. Talk about another team that's just really struggling this year. The Pelicans are 5-22. You look at the roster, you'd be like, "What? How are they 5-22?" Injuries, man. Injuries have killed this team this year. Zion's out. Ingram's out. I did read a report that like there's a potential for Alvarado to be back soon. So watch that news. Going to the Pelicans here first. DeJounte's expensive. It's a really tough matchup. I kind of just want to fade the Pelicans in this spot.
Yeah, I'm on full fade to Stevie. Just speaking of the Pelicans, man, we're getting close to Zion Williamson being a Greg Oden repeat, even though it's not like a back.
Oh, I think it's not even close. Like Greg's, yeah, like okay. Maybe it's not as wide as the other one, but man, Greg Odom, has there ever been as big a bust? I don't think Zion's as big a bust is what I was kind of saying. Like Zion, like he's played Greg Oden couldn't even stay on the floor.
Well, my point is, in terms of injury comparisons, like Zion's starting to be out like extended time every year since he's been in the league. Like at some point, come on, like you got to be on the floor. But all that to cement how rough it is for the Pelicans and the fact that I don't want to play them. I agree with you 100%. Josh Gillum says Anthony Bennett. Well, Anthony Bennett wasn't hurt. He just sucked.
Yeah. Zion does not stink. I mean, by any means.
Right. When he's healthy, gosh, he's killing people. We just got to keep him healthy.
Yeah, Greg Oden. I think he only. Yeah, I looked up his stats. He only played 105 games. I don't know how many people are like old enough to remember like how much hype was around that guy.
Yeah. And remember, Miami even brought him in during the championship run for a little bit to just play 10, 12 minutes a game. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Greg Oden had a lot of hype, man.
Yeah. Ohio State, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh,
yeah. Houston side of this game, I mean, it all kind of depends on Van Vliet for me. He is dealing with a little bit of, I don't know if it's an injury or rest or whatever. Watch and see on this one. If he plays, I don't know, man. Like Sengun, if this game stays close, if you're playing some Pelicans and you want this game to stay close, I mean, I always say this, but always tell a story with your lineup. If you're playing some Pelicans and you expect this game to stay close, I do not. Sengun smashes. If this game stays close, it's a great matchup for him. Outside of that, I mean, they're a good basketball team. They're such a good basketball team. Talk about this all the time. Houston, I think, is like 6th or 7th in net rating this year. They played great basketball. We talked about the Thunder and the Magic being 1 and 3. Houston's 2nd in defensive rating this year. Their defense has been incredible. And they play at a pretty slow pace. So, I mean, nothing jumping off the page to me in this spot unless you're building a little bit of a game stack.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I'm not thrilled about the game. I will say this. If Van Vliet is out, then, Amen Thompson is a guy that I'll probably take some shots on for sure. He should have tremendous upside if Van Vliet sits. Jalen Green is getting cheaper and cheaper, Stevie, 6,200. He hasn't been incredibly productive, but who's to say he can't against a depleted Pelicans team if Van Vliet sits? So just wanted to point those two guards out because I know those are guys that should get some minutes. Obviously Tari Eason gets, a handful of minutes, but I think those two are better plays.
Clippers, Dallas Mavericks is where we had Knicks, 227 total in this game. Dallas, a 6.5 point favorite. Going to the Clippers side here first. Hey, I mean, some good news. Kawhi practiced. He's not going to play for a couple more games, they said. But, hey, I think that's good news. I want to see Kawhi play. I think he's a really good basketball player. Always been really fun to watch Kawhi play. Jones Jr. questionable with a hamstring still. I mean, anything that you like here on the Clippers?
Zubac or Harden. We've talked about Kevin Porter Jr., Stevie. He does it again. 26 minutes, 31 fantasy points. I'm back. Sign me up yet again. Another KPJ sighting.
Oh, I mean, he has the upside if he gets the minutes. I mean, we can't preach that enough. Maybe they're going to finally start playing him on a consistent basis here. But I don't trust it at all. He is like the definition of a large field GPP play. I feel like Zubac keeps crushing. Dallas plays with size. Zubac should get 30 plus minutes here. I think Zubac is another guy you could potentially look at on the Clippers side.
Yep.
Dallas side, Luka didn't practice on Wednesday, and Kyrie did practice, dealing with a little bit of like shoulder stiffness. So I assume they both play. If either one of them sits, you play the other one. If they both sit, play everybody. I mean, there's so much value if both of these guys sit. Like, It wouldn't even be like think twice. You would just play all the value. If both of them play, I mean, nothing like jumping off the page. I mean, you could play Luka. His ceiling is incredible, but
I
that's
don't mind
really it for
rolling
me.
the dice on Clay at 4,900. I don't hate that.
Yeah, I mean, he's been shooting a lot more recently. He went back to Golden State and shot a ton the other night. He hit 7 threes in that game. Like it's just a auto lock. Anytime he plays Golden State, you're just going to play Clay. That's for sure. Like you're not even thinking twice about it. He's taken 31 shots in 2 games against the Warriors this year. So don't sleep. Anytime, like his price is going to be $6K next time they play Golden State. He's not going to be cheap anymore. That's for sure.
Yeah, vintage Clay coming out.
Anybody else that you like for Dallas?
No, not really.
Oh, man, my left eye is doing something funky right now. Indiana at Phoenix taking on the Suns, 235.5 total. Suns a 7.5 favorite. I mean, Neesmith and Shepard expected to be out still. Let's go to the Indiana side here. What do you like here for the Pacers?
Yeah, give me Halliburton. Love Halliburton, Stevie. I definitely think this is 8,400. I just keep playing them at these cheap prices. You got Turner at 67, who Stevie, he's kind of back down these minutes in the 20s again. So I don't know what's up with that. Siakam is a guy I was hoping I would be able to play a lot more, but he just hasn't been productive. The main guy that I want to play, his name is Tyrese Halliburton, and I think he's the best play from this team.
Halliburton obviously always has a little bit of upside. I want to play Siakam in this spot because the Suns have really struggled with the 4 this year. I could see Siakam having a big game. I just don't know if I could do it. Man, his production's just all over the place.
Yeah.
Love the matchup. Hate the fantasy production right now. I mean,
yeah.
I think it's as simple as that. Halliburton might be the only guy, but I want to play something from the Pacers. I think this is going to be a good, competitive, high-scoring game. On the Phoenix side, we'll see if Bradley Beal is good to go. Everything I've read is he's probable. What do you like here for the Suns?
I don't really like the Suns, Stevie. Like KD's 9K. He's had, a 50-point game in the last 5, but like just getting 43 fantasy points isn't helping me. So I'm perfectly fine fading him. Devin Booker has had a 50-point game, but like just getting low 40s isn't helping me at these prices. So I don't really want to play anyone from Phoenix. I don't like the spot.
Yeah. When all 3 of them are healthy, it's really tough to play them. Like any of the 3 of them. We've talked about this for years on teams that kind of have like 3 studs. Nurkic is 6,400. I feel like if he was a little bit cheaper, I'd pull the trigger, but I think there's a lot of good center plays today. So it's kind of where I'm at.
Up soon.
Yeah, kind of where I'm at. Yeah. Talk about this next center. We got the Knicks heading to Minnesota, 215 total. Timberwolves a 2.5-point favorite. Nobody on the injury report. No one that I see anyway. Knicks side here first. Karl-Anthony Towns goes into Minnesota. Do you think there's a little extra motivation for Karl-Anthony Towns in this game, Will?
I think there's a little extra motivation.
I think there is too. I'll be honest. Like he's him and Wemby are 2 of the top plays. I think that I'll probably have 2. I don't think I'll be able to fit 3, but 2 of like Cunningham, Ball, Wemby, or Cat in every lineup I build today. Those 4 guys are like the 4 guys I'm really going to build around. I mean, Karl-Anthony Towns is going to be pumped for this game. He's going to do everything he can to have a big game here.
Yeah, man, he should, and I think he will. So I like Cat in this game. I mean, he's 10-2. The other night, I think he had 22 rebounds, Stevie. 22. I'm not making this up. No, I'm not making it up. It was 22 rebounds. His rebounding has really picked up this season too, Stevie. Last year, sometimes he'd be between 6 and 8. This year, he's pretty much an automatic 10 with upside for 15, 16 almost every game. So Cat has been doing his thing. He's been playing really well. I personally, I still think Brunson is fine, but not the right game. It's just not the right game for him. So Cat is number one for me. And then in terms of, guys that need to be active, like just or get active during the game, you're talking about a guy like Josh Hart at 7K who's just going to try to grab every rebound, pick up assists, score a few points. So I actually like Josh Hart in this spot too at 7K, even though he's a little overpriced.
They just play so many minutes. It's hard not to like these guys. I mean, they play so many minutes. So I think Cat takes this game over on the Knicks side. So it's really hard for me to play anybody but him. That's where I'm leaning initially here. On the Minnesota side, gosh, man, you don't love this game from a pace or defensive perspective. I mean, nothing. I mean, Anthony Edwards maybe gets hyped up for this game going up against his old running buddy, Karl-Anthony Towns, and you just kind of do a little game stack. But yeah, I mean, matchup wise, nothing here that I love matchup wise.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel exactly the same way. Like you said, maybe you roll out Anthony Edwards, maybe you don't. He hasn't had the big games this year yet. Played in the Olympics this summer, so sometimes I think that can have an effect on these guys. I know Rudy Gobert is 6,600, and while any other time we'd be excited to play him at that price, I'm not excited at all. You got Randall at 77, who's just seems to be stuck in mediocrity right now. You know who's not stuck in mediocrity, CV, that I keep looking at from this tee from time to time? That's Naz Reid. Now, I guess you're saying, well, he's had back-to-back games at 18 and 19 fantasy points. Yeah, but, like, if he gets rolling, his ceiling is immense for his role. So I like him a ton.
All right, let's play the morning grind game, and then we'll get out of here. Back tomorrow, some more NBA talk. I think it's like a 3 or 4 game slate. Favorite play under 5K to go 7X. We talked about a few guys down here today. Who do you got?
A lot of guys, Stevie. I think if I had to choose one, I think I'd go Malik Beasley today, playing the idea that Ivy sits and one of these other guys sits and he just goes off.
Yeah, I'm going to go to Zach Edey. I think his price is just too cheap today at 4,300. We have a lot of people we want to pay up for. The fact that he came back and played 24 minutes, 25 minutes is all he really needs at 4,300. So Zach Edey, he just, his fantasy points just add up so fast. He just fills up the stat sheet. So really like Zach Edey. Love the fact that he played 24 minutes in his return. I assume he'll get 25 minutes again here. So yeah, Zach Edey is who I wrote down. Over 8K to go under 5X. Who's your bust today?
Oh, man. We do have some options, Stevie. Give me James Harden. But I'm not. It's just he's playing Dallas. It's going to be a tough game. I feel better about everybody else. Like Ball's against Washington, Cunningham's against. No, well, there's an obvious play. I'm going Harden. I know what the obvious play is, though.
I'm going to go Devin Booker at 9,500.
I thought you were going to go SGA against Orlando. That was the obvious play to me.
No, I mean, SGA, he I think that he still has that like 50, 60 point upside. I think, yeah, I mean, he's not the wrong answer either. I'm not going to play SGA or Booker today. So, I mean, that's not the wrong answers. Favorite 6X play? Who do you got?
Oh, man. This was probably my toughest one because I like multiple players from the same team. But give me, you know what? Give me Zach LaVine against Boston. Give me LaVine. I know it doesn't seem like it. Give me LaVine against Boston.
So I knew we were doing a podcast today, and I was writing down this answer, and I was like, "Oh, Will's going to take this answer for me," but I'm going to write it down anyway, just in case he doesn't take this answer for me. Give me Cade Cunningham. I know it's 6x. I know it's 60 fantasy points. I don't care. I think he goes for 60 plus in this spot. Absolutely love Cade in this matchup. One of the top plays on the slate for me. Who's your favorite GPP ceiling play today?
Cade Cunningham against Utah.
There you go. Yep. I mean, I like it a lot. I'm gonna play the narrative here. I'm gonna go Karl Anthony Towns going back to Minnesota, and I'm gonna play the narrative. I think he's gonna try to score a gazillion points tonight. I think he's gonna be very motivated on the rebounding. And what is he averaging? Like 16 rebounds over the last 10 games.
It's insane right now. It's insane.
Yeah, he is an elite rebounder right now for sure.
Rudy Gobert's gonna have a tough night.
Yeah, and Rudy Gobert is not Rudy Gobert from 5 years ago either. People got to remember that. Rudy Gobert 5 years ago is not someone you wanted to really necessarily pick on, but yeah, last 10 games for Cat, he's averaging 21 points, 18.7 rebounds per game.
Yep.
Wild. Let's get weird GPP play of the day. Who do you got?
Give me RJ Barrett at 9,200. I think even though it's a big slate, Stevie, I just don't see people going there. And this man's got stupid upside right now with all these guys out. RJ.
I'm going to go to Zubac. I don't think that a lot of people will get to Zubac today. Dallas plays kind of big. I think Zubac gets 30-plus minutes tonight, and his fantasy point per minute production has been great this year. So give me Zubac at 7,100 as my Let's Get Weird GPP play today. Any bets that you like on this slate?
I do. And so I actually thought I was seeing things, and maybe I'm wrong. But why in the world are the Pistons -4.5 against the Jazz at home? I just think they're much better than that. Give me Pistons -4.5, and that's where I am.
Yeah, I mean, I already talked about one that I like. I like Dennis Schroeder under 15.5 points. And the other one that I really like today is Karl Anthony Towns over 36.5 points and rebounds. I'm going to play the narrative street. I think that he has a big game today. He has been absolutely crushing this number. So, I mean, if you look at his recent production, he's crushing this number. I mean, I just read it off. 21 points, 18 rebounds. He's crushing this number right now. I mean, the other night against Orlando, he had 22 rebounds and 22 points. So, at quick glance, he's hit this number 5 straight games. So, I'm going to keep it hot. Keep riding it here against his former team. Mr. Will, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Negative, man. I was just glad to come on, talk to you after the cup, and hopefully we help some people make some money. And let's get it, man. Let's get it.
All right. That's going to wrap it up for Thursday. We're back Friday talking hoops. Good luck, everyone. We'll see you then.